Make no mistake about it, my friends. Trade talk is running rampant in Vancouver. Whether or not the players at hand have trade protection, and whether or not Alan Walsh is willing to express his opinions about these conversations, it seems like the talks will happen, whether we like it or not, whether we're in control of it or not. Because today, what I wanted to do was respond to an article posted on the Hockey News by one Stephen Rosner. I'm going to leave a link in the description to this article published 4 days ago on the Hockey News. Is Filip Hronek the defenseman who elevates the Islanders into contender status? Rosner writes in this Hockey News piece, can Hronek's elite right shot defense finally catapult the Islanders into true Stanley Cup contention? The Islanders are a good hockey team. They're a team that could certainly make the playoffs and do damage, even if they never get grouped into the Stanley Cup contender conversation. However, one way to get into that conversation is by filling a significant hole on the back end. An elite, right-handed defenseman who could be paired alongside Matthew Schaefer for the next 5+ seasons. That player may be residing in Vancouver in the form of Filip Hronek. Now, I just wanted to acknowledge, at the very beginning of this video, we said the agents might be willing to speak out about this, whether or not it's actually a possibility, and that is really what happened here when it came to Filip Hronek and the conversation surrounding him as a potential trade option. By the way, Walsh did see Phil Hronek earlier this week. They posted a picture together yesterday for an early morning LA power breakfast, and yeah, they're having a good time at the beach right there. It's November, folks, so you're not really going to see too many people out there, Santa Monica, whatever. And if you scroll down into Alan Walsh's Twitter account, you will find this tweet right here from November 24th. It's kind of funny when people in media speculate on a player and the potential of a trade without also mentioning the player has a full no-move clause. Of course, Walsh is referring to the Filip Hronek situation because earlier in the week, Elliot Friedman wrote about Hronek as a likely candidate to stay in Vancouver amidst all the trade talk. But Walsh is correct here. Phil Hronek, if you head over to his profile, he does have full no-move protection, and that will stay that way until 2028, where his no-move becomes a modified no-trade. So there is a lot of time for Filip Hronek to stay in the Canucks organization, considering that he's signed till the end of 2032 at $7.25 million a year. But hey, this is where we start talking about potential fits elsewhere. If we go over back to the article on the Hockey News, this is what Stephen Rosner goes out there and says. The 28-year-old defenseman, who has 5 years left in his $7.25 million AAV deal, has a full no-move clause, which means he has complete say on where he ends up. Parlay that with Vancouver's struggles and reports that they're willing to trade their veterans outside of Quinn Hughes, more likely UFAs, there are reasons to think Hronek could be in play. That is, if the right team comes along. And oh boy, Rosner, things have changed over the past few days wherein you wrote this article, because it looks like Quinn Hughes is all of a sudden available on the market too, especially for the right price. So, obviously, this will be a pretty big conversation over the next few days. Phil Hronek, I don't want to make it seem like the guy wants out or I personally want him to get traded, but I will say, when it comes to on-ice talent in Vancouver, Phil Hronek, relative to the expectations, has probably been Vancouver's most reliable defenseman this season. I say that just because Quinn Hughes has been so wishy-washy this season, it hasn't really been all too great for him, despite the fact that Quinn is still getting Norris consideration from NHL.com voters and others. Quinn has not been nearly as dominant as he could be. Meanwhile, Phil Hronek has been roughly the same. This year, he's got 16 points in 26 games. He's on pace for 50 points over the course of 82, which would be a career high. Hronek's having a good season, man. I don't know what to tell you. He's been fine. Last year was a little bit of a hiccup, but he was a pretty strong defenseman in 2023-2024. He's on pace to besting that season. Now, In particular, if you wanted to ask why a guy like Hronek would be wanting out, if the Vancouver Canucks are in as vulnerable of a spot that they do start to ask no move, no trade clause players on the team, hey, could you get traded? We have a deal sending you to New York, for example. I don't think it will be out of the question that this happens, especially if Vancouver goes complete tire fire garage sale, everybody's got to go mode. I mean, we just made a video earlier this morning discussing the idea of Vancouver trading both Demko and Lankinen, as mentioned by your Fawn Gaffar on the Daily Faceoff Rundown show. But heading back over onto the article here, this is what the proposal is. Hronek does have a connection to the Islanders. When the Canucks traded Bo Horvat to the Isles in 2023, they acquired the Isles' 2023 first as part of the package. The Canucks then flipped that pick to Detroit for Hronek ahead of the 2023 trade deadline, pairing him with Hughes as the club's top pairing. It would be ironic if Hronek ended up in the blue and orange, but he fits the need, and at 28, he does fit this core's timeline. His agent Alan Walsh also represents Jonathan Drouin, who would sign a 2-year deal worth $4 million AAV with Long Island this summer. Now, the biggest question is the cost. What would the Islanders have to send the Canucks to get this done? Remember, Vancouver has zero leverage here if Hronek decides that he wants out, so the Islanders, if they're the team that Hronek is open to coming to, don't need to come up with the most competitive package. Hronek is acquired for the Islanders' first and Vancouver's 2023 second. The Islanders have Colorado's 2026 first from the Brock Nelson trade, but they also have their own first-round pick, which is likely to be more valuable. The Chicago Blackhawks own the Islanders' second, which they acquired in the Josh Bailey trade back in 2022. Could the Islanders' 2026 first, a 2026 conditional third, and a depth forward get the job done? Ooh boy, I actually like that. If you think about it from a selling and buying point of view, if Vancouver acquired Hronek for a first and a second, if they sell him for a first, a third, and another forward, that's roughly the same value there, isn't it? If not, maybe just a little bit better? When you think about Vancouver potentially selling away all their guys, I mean, Sherwood is a prime candidate to get traded, he's probably out. Garland could be on his way out too, depending on what teams are willing to pay on the market. You've got all these young dudes that may need a little bit of sheltering at the National Hockey League level. If you're able to get a depth forward to replace the roster spot, man-to-man, body-to-body on the team, whilst adding a first-round pick for a squad that's admittedly pretty so-so this year. I mean, the Islanders have not been amazing, but they're fine. Plus a third, I actually do think that is reasonable for the Vancouver Canucks to consider, at the very least. Now, of course, keep in mind this all is contingent on Phil Hronek being okay to go elsewhere. But I'm also thinking about it like, if the Islanders actually do become alright this season, if Matthew Schaefer continues to dominate, and if Phil Hronek is in a spot where, hey, Quinn could be leaving, the rest of the Canucks could be shaken up, they might want to go through this getting younger phase, then maybe he accepts a deal out of consolation with what's going on with the Canucks, and maybe it's okay for him to wave and go to a new team, play alongside of another young left-handed defenseman like Matthew Schaefer and just be the star there. Essentially fill up the Noah Dobson spot. Of course, though, the Islanders still have Heineman and all those assets, so they're looking fine. I think they like Kashan Aitchison. I think they like Victor Eklund. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this idea of Phil Hronek over to the Islanders for a first-round pick and other stuff? Do you like it? Do you don't? Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.